It's not often for a session that I get a prop, so just as a sense check, who has heard of or read the Fishbowl interview on the Media Leader? Okay, a fair few of you. So this is the Fishbowl live, and we're going to have about half an hour to chat about quite a few topics. But for a bit of background for those of you who don't know about the Fishbowl, it started out in 2022 as an idea from Sam Tidmarsh for an event, I believe, and we've sort of taken it onto the Media Leader website and now brought it back to events. It's a lovely circular journey, yeah. And so we pose questions to top media owner salespeople.
They couldn't make it though today.
And it's a mix of questions. It could be personal questions about their work, their views on the state of the industry. But the kicker was that some of these questions are from the Media Leader editorial team, and some of them are from fellow salespeople. But you don't know which is which until it's published. And it goes out every Wednesday. It's very fun to put together, and I'm in charge of that. So without further ado, we're going to start drawing questions from a real-life fishbowl of questions that I've pulled out from our bank, and I will be opening up questions for the audience throughout as a live fishbowl. So have a think about any questions you might have for our wonderful panel who I'll introduce just now. So I've got James Cornish, who's SVP of International Sales at Vevo, and I've got Simon Kilby, Managing Director of Bauer Media Advertising, James Fleetham, Director of Clients Marketing and Research at The Guardian, and Lisa Spencer-Hayes, Head of Digital Advertising Sales and Content Partnerships at Formula One. So I'm going to draw first question out. We've got a selection of questions, mix of personal, mix of innovation questions and future-facing questions to try and get a balance of everything. So, you guys ready?
They're coloured.
Yeah. They're coloured, just so that I can make sure that we
just
get
to make them really difficult.
Yeah. So first question, which deal are you proudest of in your career? Lisa, I might start with you.
Okay, I think I'll have to go with, back in, I think it was 2022, we were just about to launch the F1 season, and I was working on a sponsorship partnership agreement, which honestly, it was a miracle to get it over the line in time. And genuinely, it just shows you what you can do when the team comes together and you try and perform miracles. We got it over the line literally minutes before we were about to air the first race, at which point the brand who was sponsoring had their branding around our trackside. It was the Bahrain Grand Prix. So if anything at that point had gone wrong, we would have had a bit of an issue with what we were airing. But we made a call to just get it done. And I think there's that feeling of additional pressure of, this has just got to work. So, yeah, I would say most proud of that in the moment.
James?
I've got a really rubbish memory. It's a bit like, tell me a joke. You can't remember a joke. So I'll go for something in more recent memory. The work we've done with Google Pixel around our women's football, I think has been really, really good. The Pixel FC stuff Google have done in general, I think is excellent, and that's all about bringing parity to the coverage of the women's game alongside the men's game, and they've been a great partner with us on that. And that enabled us for the Women's World Cup last year to make it our biggest ever, most comprehensive coverage of that tournament. And there was a bit of content that we delivered within that I thought sort of like summed up what that partnership was all about and sort of what makes Guardian football content a bit different. And we did a player-by-player guide for the tournament. So that's 736 players. And if you think about like how hard that is to do, it's like get the lowdown on the third choice non-professional goalkeeper of Vietnam and tell us if they're any good.
What would be your choice?
Yeah, I mean, pick your dream team from that. So I thought that that was a nice example of like what marks out our content a little bit differently and what that partnership was all about. So I'll go for Pixel.
Nice. Simon?
Well, I spent 15 years at The Guardian, actually, and a period of my career that I loved was when it went from broadsheet to Berliner, and that was an amazing time. I left, and the fuckers changed it to a tabloid, basically killing 2 years of work. But I left The Guardian and went to Absolute Radio at the time. It was independent. There's some ex-Absolutists in the second row there. And at the time, we were a single station, and having your breakfast show sponsored is just about the most important thing you can do. You have to do it. and we got into negotiations with Cara about Wix, who they just won. Actually, we spoke to them before they'd won it, and it was part of the pitch. We negotiated with Cara, and the closing obstacle in the deal was they wanted a 3-month break clause because they were concerned that it wasn't going to work. They've now been on absolute breakfast. They've just signed another 2-year deal, which will make it 14 years.
Oh, wow.
And it's the longest running radio sponsorship in the country. It may well be the longest running branded content in the country. If you don't know it, check it out. It's without question the best bit of branding content in the UK at the moment. It wins awards year after year.
I can see the salesperson coming on.
And the way that you can weave paints, screwdrivers and whatever, planks of wood into breakfast content and it still sound awesome is quite a skill. So it would be Wix.
Okay. It's a tough act to follow that one.
That is a tough act to follow. It's a great examples there. And I'm actually going to come at it slightly differently. I think my answer to that is I've worked in media sales 22 years or so, and obviously we're kind of judged on the deals we do over time as one of the sort of core criteria around it. But the thing I would say that the question was about, like, what are you most proud of? I think the thing that I would look at as, in terms of being most proud about the deals I've done, is actually like the relationships and the collaboration I've formed over those years in order to build like a number of different deals in different places where I've worked that have enabled me to sort of develop my career, but also create partnerships with people across the industry that, you know, that have lived long on, you know, since I started work. That I have great friendships in the industry as a result of that. So I'm not going to point to one thing particularly, but more like the relationships that I've built that have enabled me to facilitate certain deals at different places I've worked at.
And that is something that comes up in the Fishbowl interview a lot, about the relationships and how important they are, and that's why a lot of people stay in media, because of that kind of that element to it, and the people, and comes out as a really key part of that. And I think for sales, or people person, you're a people person if you're in sales, presumably. Ready for another one?
Yeah.
No. Okay. Which innovations are you most excited about right now? I'm going to start from the other end now. James, innovations.
Innovations.
In keeping with our headline title for the session.
I'll speak to it sort of specifically to the space I operate in.
Yeah, obviously we're all across different sectors.
Mediums and sectors,
gonna be
and so from my point of view, like the evolution of television and television in its totality, so whether that's content owners that now have the ability to distribute content and serve it into TV screens due to connected television, whether that is subscription services that are now opening up to advertising, whether that's a redistribution of traditional broadcasters and their content and how they're now engaging with audiences, is creating like this whole new swell of opportunity within TV, which ultimately is a great thing, I think, for advertisers, because we know how powerful TV is as a medium. So the growth that is happening there in terms of eyeballs, content, variety, but also you know, a lot of this is now digitally delivered and served, which enhances the ways in which you can present that and package it up and talk to advertisers and really extract the value out of it. So for me, that sort of constant innovation that is going on there is like right in the sweet spot of the area that I operate in, and, you know, something that I think about a lot, that I think is a lot of fun and is exciting.
Yeah, it makes things flexible, the changing distribution, and lots more options for, like, I know that shoppable and like lots of things like that.
Also, it also adds a layer of complication.
Yeah, there is that. It's never easy, is it?
No, it's never easy. But, you know, it's not challenges that are beyond the wit of man, and you know, we can progress those. So
and
it's good.
On the Bauer side of things, there's audio and also publishing, like print.
Yeah.
So there's you can pick across both.
Well, I think that's absolutely right. I think the broadcast media is being impacted by digital transformation significantly now. It's happening in TV. It's also happening in radio completely. I think for Bauer at the moment, the biggest change that is leading to innovation in our business is that we have, in the last few months, moved into a new building called The Lantern, which is just the north side of Warren Street. For our business across audio and publishing, it's a massive transformation moment for us. I think for me, it feels like Bauer's always had amazing people and amazing brands. It now has a home that allows us to bring those to life. We've got probably, as our head of content says, we'll have the best studios in the world for about 6 months until someone... We've got performance space, we've got podcast suites. We can turn our broadcast content so quickly now into social video and distribute it, and I think it's making an enormous change in our business. It actually helps us make us feel like an entertainment business as well. Yesterday, we saw John fucking Bon Jovi coming. I mean, how much more rock and roll can you get? So it's the opportunities for our business at the moment that are coming with our move.
Kind of working closer together.
Yeah, collaboration, but it's also the technical abilities of our new studios and the suites that we have that allows us to do things differently and generate that kind of 360 content around various platforms.
Which is so important now that consumers are behaving differently and shifting all of those things. James, on publishing side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is where, go on.
A lot going on.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Short memory, so I think it's something that we're working on at the moment. The thing that we're proud of that's innovative that we're working on at the moment is something called Guardian Light. 0 cookies, same great taste. That's not the line we're allowed to go out with. That's the line it's the most memorable line. The reason it's top of mind is we made some changes on our consent banner when you come to The Guardian. We did that on Tuesday.
Also really kind of happening
It's happening right now. Yeah, exactly. So when you go to publish a website and you're asked whether you're going to be all right with cookies or not, most, including The Guardian, up before Tuesday would say, yes, I agree, or manage or reject. And it takes a bit of time to get to the reject bit. And that's probably not right. So we've changed that as of Tuesday. And it's now, first thing you see, no thank you, reject all cookies. So that has like a big impact on our advertising business, because that means more people are going to reject. It's going to be harder to serve them ads. Traditionally, at that point, anyone that says no, you can't serve an ad to. But at the moment, we're the only publisher where you are able to serve an ad to them, because we've sort of seen this problem coming. We've been working with a Scandinavian technology company. They're called Opt-Out, and they've helped us create this product called Guardian Light, which means we can serve ads to those users that have said, no, I don't want to rejected all cookies, and we can deliver advertising without using any first or third party data. So that makes us quite unique and quite innovative, and also just feels like quite on brand for The Guardian. It's sort of like treating people's data with integrity. It's the right thing to do. It will probably hurt us in the short term. Let's see how popular it is in the medium to long term. But yeah, that's an innovation we're proud of that we're working on.
Yeah, because the cookies conversation, I think, it's been going on for a long time. And how publishers pivot around that and as it changes, and it was delayed and pushed back.
So you've got that coming at the end of the year, the third-party cookies thing, and this is directly related to consent, which is a fallout from GDPR and something the ICO are talking to publishers about and advising quite heavily. So I think others will follow suit. I think you'll see other consent banners changing, but we're well placed to handle that.
So you're kind of like the first to innovate on that.
Yes.
As of now.
Yeah.
Lisa, what about you?
I feel you can't have a conference go by without mentioning AI. And I know that's also really lame. But AI for us, given we're such a data-rich sport, we have so much of it and almost don't have enough opportunities to use it to the best of our abilities. And we already do a lot. And so AI, we're already having really great conversations with. We're fortunate to have a global partner in AWS, and we've already had some really amazing workshops with them to really just brainstorm completely a load of different things we might be able to do in the future. And it could be from, really exciting stuff around, immersive fan experiences in the future that you can't even imagine at the minute, to, taking a very heavy admin-based job that someone internally might do, and just making that more simple. And not taking away the job, but just helping them be a bit more efficient. So that's really exciting and very innovative.
I suppose it frees up that creativity, so they could think a bit more out of the box if they're not like doing this for the higher value tasks and things like that? Is that the
Totally.
idea?
Just to get through doing more, I think, as well. You know, those individuals will always be there and be needed, but it's just around how can we best use their time, make their roles more interesting by, as you say, enabling them to be more creative because they've got time away from the quite heavy admin-based stuff.
Yeah, some interesting innovations happening at the moment. I'm going to just check if anyone has any questions in the audience as of now. I'll check back in later if you want to put your hands up. Any questions for our panel? Oh, we've got one in the middle. If you could just say your name and your company and then your question and maybe who it's aimed at, or if it's aimed at everyone, then...
Sure. Hi, I'm Cornish. I'm from a small media agency called December 19. So, yeah, thanks for your time. I was just wondering, excuse me, if, James, you could just give a sort of explain like on 5 explanation of how the opt-in system would work if there's no first and third party data being used to serve ads. Like, what's the general like layman's explanation of how that works? I'll do the layman's one because I definitely can't do the technical one. So opt-out is the technology partner. So basically, it's an alternative ad server. So if you're using Google Ad Manager, you're processing data, and the opt-out ad server strips out all of those first and third party tags and delivers the ads without them. That's like the layman's explanation, but like I can catch you afterwards and probably connect you with like the tech team that like work on it to give you a better answer.
I didn't understand any of that.
I was going to add the same.
I don't know.
You've got publishing.
We've all got
Used to work at the Guardian.
areas of expertise. All right, ready for another one?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I quite like this question. How did you end up working in media? Who wants to go first? How did you end up working
I don't
in
mind
media?
having a stab at that
Yeah?
one. I ended up working in media because civil service rejected me, basically. And there's a story around it, was that I studied politics. I went to a comprehensive in Northumberland, studied politics, got my degree and applied for the civil service fast track. This was a long time ago, and I'm sure the civil service has changed. The way it worked back then, you did a set of exams and there was some additional information. You do the exams. I got a really high pass mark in the exams, but they chose the shortlist for next phase on your combination of both. The additional information was things like, what did your father do? Where did you go to school? All that kind of stuff. And I got rejected, but they did say to me, oh, you can consider these other careers in the civil service. And I was like, yeah, but when can I jump back over to the fast track? And they're like, no, you can't do that. And I was like, absolutely no way. And from that point, I made a kind of decision that I wanted to have a career that was, you know, my success or failure was down to my own level of commitment, not someone's view about, you know, where I went to school or university. And I'm very pleased I made that decision. Because the civil service would have been boring.
Yeah, media's much more interesting. James, if you want to go.
Oh, well,
how you
I've got there's a university segue, which is I failed my first year 4 times. I didn't actually make it to the exams. I didn't get entered. I didn't attend enough. I did my first year twice in Manchester, twice in Oxford Brookes. I had quite limited options afterwards. Was going to do sales, recruitment or media sales. Flipped a coin, and I'm really glad it was heads.
So flipped a coin.
I've been here ever since.
Well, I think sometimes these stories, it's never. I don't know why it's never media as your. Something that kids grow up being like, I want to go into media, and I don't know why that's...
Certainly not media sales.
Yeah, media sales.
Yeah.
But James...
I'm going to further that story. Like, I literally fell into it, and I started off where Simon now works, formerly known as EMAP Advertising, selling radio. And the reason I ended up there was because my friend from school was working there. He had loads of fun. They went to O'Neill's in Covent Garden.
We've all been there.
It's full of people who have just come out of university, don't know what they want to do, come and have some fun in London, and that's what I did basically. So, yeah, nothing to do with having an ambition.
The
to
opportunities,
be a media
Those quiet bits on the radio, I want to fill them.
I didn't even know what that was when I walked in the door.
Lisa, are you going to continue this trend, or...?
I actually knew from a very young age that I wanted to be in media. No, absolutely. I fell into it. I remember leaving university and just not knowing, probably because I chose philosophy at university, and not really knowing what I wanted to do next or where my path was going to take me. I saw a load of ads, as we all do, and I saw an ad for media fashion consultancy, and I just thought, media and fashion, how cool is that? That's a cool job, right? And I had no idea what it was going to be. I had a couple of meetings, and it ended up that I was in assessment centres for IPC and Haymarket, and I was looking at a media sales role, you know, very, very, you know, below the ladder, classified position, and I ended up at Haymarket. And I spent a long time there in lots of different roles. And so, yeah, I very much fell into it, but have enjoyed it every minute.
And I believe you both worked together at Haymarket.
Lisa was my boss.
Yeah, yeah. What was the title?
I'm very sorry.
Well, before I worked for originally, I got into the glamorous title of packaging news,
Wow.
selling classified ads in the back of that, chasing leads from our fiercest competitor, Plastic and Rubbers Weekly,
Not a real title.
which was doing so badly. It was a monthly magazine, but they didn't rebrand. Yeah, and then ended up on Brand Republic with Lisa.
I worked
The
at
enemy. We
Haymarket
won't
as well.
Haymarket. Oh, okay. Another.
Great training ground.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
really is.
Are there any more questions from the audience? I'm just going to check in. We've got
No
about-
data ones though, please.
No, no cookie questions or anything. But any questions for our panel? Got one at the front.
Hi, I'm Claire. I come from Magnite. So my question for anyone in the panel who feels like answering is we've talked a lot about creativity and the diversity of content that's been produced lately on TV. On the audio side of things, there's a different conversation that's coming up, especially with deepfake and content being produced, but that's not original content, and singers having a hit on the radio, but it's actually not a real singer. So I was wondering if this is a trend that's worrying you, and if you have anything in place at the moment to try and counteract that at your level in your...
Shall I take that?
Yeah,
As it's
deep
the
fakes, yeah.
So, yeah, it's a really good point, and it's a question around AI and its use in audio. I think the first thing to say about it, you know, people come to our brands because they trust them. So we'd need to think very carefully before we do anything in the AI space that breaks that trust. Radio's core values are around trust, community, and communication, and that human connection. Yes, there are areas where AI, in terms of searching and making our business more efficient, there are really good opportunities. We actually, on Hits Radio, if you saw Simon, my chunk, and my boss's session this morning, we relaunched it yesterday. Go and listen to it. We did an AI version of Fleuris, who does the breakfast show. And it sounded fine. All the feedback we got was that it lacked connection. And so you can imitate the voice, but it's not Fleur. So I think in terms of on air, in our trusted environments, we're a very long way away from that.
But you wonder if how like technologies might develop and how close it can get to the real thing in the future. And I suppose that is a concern on media owner side because of you've got your brand, your like voice and the content that you're proud of, but then also for advertisers as well, that must be a concern too.
I think I'd also say, you know, the synthetic content piece is a concern. I think, you know, the broader debate gets quite polarising, and, you know, the truth of it is there's going to be some great things and some less great things. I think, we're already seeing it impact our business because of the way people are searching, and, you know, less people are having to click on the answer and get through to publisher website, and that hits our traffic, even though they might be using publisher answer to get to that. I think the sort of the opportunity for trusted, established media brands is, you know, we sort of talk about being by humans for humans, and as the internet becomes increasingly flooded with synthetic content, I think if you have that credibility and that trust, then it means what you stand, what you are becomes even more important, and that readers will appreciate that, listeners will appreciate that, advertisers will appreciate that.
I think for me, sorry, just to build on that, you know, I think trust and brand safety should be the biggest issues in the industry. 100% should be the biggest issues in the industry. And I don't want to get into, you know, controversial areas, but for me, the biggest challenge in the industry at the moment is just this absolute flood of money that's going into largely social and untrusted environments. And for me, not just as a media professional, but a father of, you know, 2 boys, the impact that that's having on the mental health of young people in this country is really significant. And my view is agencies and clients should be doing more to push back on this. I think there's a real danger that in 15 years, the next generation in media will look back and think that this generation was asleep at the wheel. I think this push around social content and money following it and the defense of it is it's not exactly the same, but it's starting to sound a little bit like cigarette company executives in the 70s and 80s saying there's no link here between smoking and cancer. You know, just because something is not totally accepted everywhere doesn't mean it's a significant issue. I think it's something that should be talked about more right across the industry.
Is trust and brand safety, is that coming up in your conversations as, with clients, James, Lisa?
Yeah, I mean, forefront and most, I would say. Often it's brought up, whether it's acted upon, to Simon's point. I think there is a bit of a disconnect there. And on a personal and a working level, I've also got 2 young children, and I share a similar view to what Simon just sort of outlined. And yeah, it's a challenge.
There is a concern on your side, but also maybe where is it the kind of that missing concern? Is it on the clients or the agencies? Is it just not being scrutinised enough?
Everyone talks about it, but that talk has to come into action at some point.
Yeah.
I think it's hard, isn't it, to break, like, we're sort of, I think everybody, you know, when I speak to clients about what are you worried about, the thing that comes up is sort of what we're talking about. How do we wean ourselves off a process that just seems to, like, mindlessly plough money into Meta and Google? But that is sort of the process we're stuck in. And I think, you know, people know it and don't like it and don't like the way it's going. But
they feel like they have
it's
to
not
do
on
it.
any one person. Like, we're all going to have to come together to sort that out.
I think one of the things we do in digitally delivered media, which is now kind of all media, is we step away from planning, like traditional planning, leaning into content, looking for environments first in terms of our execution, and we sort of run away a little bit with technology to find audiences and black boxes and stuff, and driven, it's cheap, there's loads of it, we can dress up media with data to get value out of it. And that's led us down a path where we devalue quality, trusted publishers' environments, content in digital environments, and therefore digital suffers from a lot of the brand safety issues and the fraud and the this and the that, and it doesn't get the credit it can and should rightly deserve from a branding perspective if we appraised it in the same way that we do all other channels.
I'm going to move us on to a future-facing question. We haven't got that much time left, so I'll just pick out one of these.
We really went off the question.
We love a debate.
You
So
said
I
there was
think
a lot
this
of
is
pent-up
you make
anger
a
there,
note,
wasn't
Sam,
there?
for next year for the panel. This is kind of an interesting one. What one thing would you change when dealing with media agencies? Lisa, maybe I'll start with you. And you're like, oh.
I think it's really worth just saying at the outset that we work with some fantastic agency partners. Genuinely, there's some amazing people in that space, and the team has fantastic relationships with them. There are a lot of really good people out there that are just trying to find the best solution that meets their client's brief. And fortunately, we feel that we can answer that often. I think from my point of view, where I suppose this comes down to efficiency in terms of how my team can spend their time, is sometimes some individuals, even when you're sending over these kind of lifeless, ongoing Excel spreadsheets, that you may have had one very quick conversation and then the team are spending hours to fill out the spreadsheet and just fit into the box, and you're not really able to tell the narrative of Formula One digital and all the propositions that we have. That can be frustrating. I understand why sometimes there has to be a process, but that can be frustrating, and that's on the sales side. And on the operational side, I find that my team are often then asked to take, the data that we share in terms of the ad delivery and the PCAs, that we're really quite detailed, comprehensive PCAs that we then feed back after campaigns, and then, can you just put it in this? Can you put it in our sheet? And you think, I don't know, if I were a client, I feel that's what I'm paying you to do. just going to say.
So yeah, more of an ideas and like less, and obviously we need process and data, but I think that kind of exciting story of what advertising can do. We have sort of run out of time, but if anyone wants to jump on that very quickly.
I would say, digging back into that other point, I would say that I wouldn't ask agencies to. I think it's something we've all got to change. I think it's prioritising creativity. I think ultimately, what you need to do in advertising, you need to have a good ad, put it in a good context, and find some good people. And that last piece, the sort of targeting piece, I think is out of balance, and that's what's driven us to the place we're in, and that's why Forbes-gate happens, and that's probably driven that sort of duopoly.
Yeah, I don't think it's a change in the relationship with agents, because I think agencies understand this as well. It's kind of how the wheel is spinning really quickly, and it's how you slow it down. How do you put something in it to slow it down so it can start moving in another direction? And that's a collective responsibility.
Yeah,
in my view.
yeah. So it's not anyone part of the industry sort of responsible for like changing. It's a whole step by step, small marginal changes. James, anything to end us on?
A tactical one. Zoom presentations I would get rid of, because
everyone in favour say aye.
and that is not not an agency. That's like my wife works in an agency. She has Zoom presentations to her clients, and I think so much time and effort goes into presenting, whether it's responses to proposals, taking people through insight, etc. And a Zoom presentation collectively is a tier 2 method of delivery, and I think they should be fun, engaging, and people should have the opportunity, both in terms of those consuming it and those delivering it, to do it in real life and get maximum value out of it. So that for me, I would drop out of.
Yeah, no more Zoom.
Zoom one-to-one, fine, and whatever.
Yeah, Zoom Teams presentations. Okay, noted. All right, well, thank you so much, and thank you guys for coming, and we're going to break for lunch now.